Hey, hi everyone. Thank y'all for joining us for our Beef Brunch news update on Tuesday, September 2nd. We're actually recording this Friday afternoon. Typically we do Mondays, but with Monday being Labor Day, we're jumping in a little bit early. And so it's drizzly. It's kind of cool. I feel like maybe moving into the fall weather a little bit. I'm going to cross my fingers on that. Before we officially kick it off with all the work things, I'm going to do my unofficial aunt duty and mention that we have a new member to the Beef Brunch family. So right. Just congratulations to Tripp and Melanie. They had their second little boy, Shepherd, last Thursday, the 20th. Is that what we're doing? Is that right?
On the 20th, yep.
Yeah, there you go. So congratulations, Tripp and Mel. Yeah, I made him hold Shep up for the camera a while ago just so I could see him, but then we let Shepherd get back to his rest. So Tripp, too, thank you for joining us on your paternity leave, but we'll go ahead and turn it over to you for the Northeast region.
All right, thank you very much, Dr. Edwards. And like she said, things have been a little bit exciting, a little bit hectic around the Morgan household with Shepherd making his appearance. Typically I pride myself on having really good updates and reports and knowing what's going on in the field, but I had a whole lot since August 20th whenever he made his arrival. So if y'all forgive me a little bit on not having a super polished report for y'all, I think y'all understand on this one. So we are recording today. It's August 29th. The 28th, the afternoon of the 28th, and pretty well most of the morning of the 29th, Northeast Louisiana has seen a pretty good bit of rainfall, and which has been a blessing for many and a curse for some. But guys, I hate to use the D word, but it was getting borderline droughty in areas of Northeast Louisiana. I know the hill country over there west of the Ouachita and along the Arkansas line, the northern end of the region was pretty darn dry. Now, whenever you got southern area, the southern portion of the region, Catahoula, Concordia, that part of the world, they were holding in there a little bit better, but it was getting pretty dry up in the northern portion of the state. Matter of fact, I talked to one producer in West Carroll Parish. He had told me that if he did not get a pretty good measurable rain within a week or two, that he was going to have to start feeding hay sometime in the month of September, that he only had 100 acres of grass left ahead of his cattle. And what he had previously grazed was seeing little to no growth back because it had gotten droughted out up there. He was on a pretty fine soil profile that is prone to drought. So that's something he's accustomed to dealing with. But it just illustrates that even on a year that we consider to be a very wet year, a year that rainfall has caused us a lot of problems and has been excess moisture, that we've still had some drought issues across the state. Across the Northeast region, with this last rainfall event, producers have experienced between an inch and 3 inches of rainfall. So that's gone a long ways towards getting everybody caught back up or enough moisture on the ground to go ahead and hopefully finish out this last cutting of hay for them or get some regrowth on some of their summer grasses to where they can get some good grazing ahead of planting ryegrass and moving into fall. So that's pretty well where we stand on the moisture standpoint. A lot of hay samples have been being taken across the region recently, and I've been pleasantly surprised with what's been coming back. And Brittany Lee, y'all might be seeing us a lot of the same things that I'm seeing, but a lot of this grass that was cut late, I had very low expectations for on the relative forage quality scores and the protein and TDN on it. But it's been okay. It's been something that we can really work with and utilize with some proper supplementation. It'll do just fine carrying the cattle through the wintertime. So if you've not gotten your hay tested yet, feel free to reach out to your local extension agent, call one of us. We're happy to come out and help you pull a forage sample. It's important to know what you're feeding and not be making a wild guess as to the quality of your hay, because we've seen it time and time again. You go out and pull some samples on some hay that you think's about to be some very high quality material, and it comes back poor to average. And on the flip side of that, I've seen it before where we've pulled some samples on some pretty raggedy looking hay, and it came back and really surprised us at just how good the quality was on it. So don't guess, no. As we say in agriculture, you can't manage what you can't measure. And fortunately, hay quality is something that's very cheap and easy to measure and can pay out huge dividends in the long runs. I believe Dr. Edwards mentioned it just a moment ago. Another thing that we've seen with the moisture that's come into the region and the state in general is a major break in the temperature. We went from highs bumping into the triple digits at mid to high 90s every day for several weeks to a pretty good break where we're in the low 90s to the 80s for a pretty good spell. And in the mornings, it's been in the 70s. It's been very pleasant in the morning. This has allowed a little bit of cow working to get it done.
Tripp, we may be losing you.
On any kind of scale. All right. All
Are
right.
you
Sorry about that,
good?
guys.
No, you're good. We got cow workings in the mornings because it's been nice and cool. I put a jacket on the other day. It was great. Is there anything else major? I think you're back clearly now.
No, other than our field days coming up, but you'll cover that in the news and notes.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Before I turn it over to you, did y'all cover winners from the State Fair hay contest in the last news update? I don't remember. Okay, I'm going to dig for that while Brittany, it's your turn to do your news update.
Okay. Thanks, Ashley. And yes, so just as Tripp mentioned, here I'm in St. Landry Parish today. We've been getting rain pretty much on and off. It was a little heavy this morning, and then just kind of been a steady drizzle for the rest of the day. And then some parts of our area saw some rain yesterday too. So I really don't know if I could tell you the last time that it rained over here. So we had some areas that were looking a little dry, and also in some parts of the parish, just kind of depending. In St. Landry Parish, there's different parts of the areas, and I think I've mentioned it before. Just with their different land types and soil types and whatnot. Some people had stayed, some areas stayed more wet and then some were drier. I would say within this past week, 2 weeks, we saw a lot more people able to, cut hay. And I've, heard some people maybe were just cutting for the first time. I have more people probably in Evangeline Parish and kind of going that direction. I would say that have gotten a few cuttings in by now. But definitely I saw some, bales that were getting picked up even this morning. That were able to get that done ahead of this rain. And just as Tripp mentioned, I also was checking the forecast, because there's been talk about this, cool front coming through. And it definitely has in the mornings this week, has been much more pleasant outside. It did warm up for us yesterday a little bit. I know Ashley and Lee and myself were, and several other agents, we attended a weed ID training up in Natchitoches Parish that Randall Mallett and Dr. Ron Strahan had put on for us. And I know, just speaking for the other agents that were there, we all thought it was a great training. We got to see some forage sorghum that they had planted there, and got to see a lot of herbicide trials and how that was working with different products and whatnot on different types of weeds. So that's always something that, we are looking for, just so, it'll help us to be able to do our jobs better and help producers out locally. And then just something to think about with the cooler weather. Again, we may have mentioned this before too. It's, definitely time to be thinking about, if you haven't already, about what you're planning for your cool season forages. So typically, a lot of people plant ryegrass typically in our area. Maybe they'll do a mix with some clover and whatnot. So prepared seed bed, be a good time to start getting those ready. And for planting for prepared seed bed, the dates for ryegrass is September 20th to October 15th. And then planting with sod or no-till starts around October 15th. And then on those, and the seeding rate is another thing to keep in mind, because planting more seed than what's recommended does not equal more grass, right? So we recommend a 30-pound seeding rate, and then 20 pounds on that ryegrass if it's in a mix. So those are just some things to keep in mind. It should be available on our website. If not, reach out to your agent, and we do have in our emails, just different varieties that are available that we've tested, as well as just, some, tips for planting cool season forages and whatnot. So that's something to keep in mind as well. And we did talk a little bit yesterday at our training as well about army worms that have been, more common in sighting and whatnot. So if you have not noticed if you had those yet, it would not be a bad time to go and scout for them. Best times to scout for army worms are kind of earlier in the morning to later in the afternoon. They tend to, stay in the ground whenever it's just the hottest parts of the day in the middle of the day. So just kind of be aware of that. And then you want to treat those as early as possible. They're a lot easier to take care of when they're at a much smaller growth stage. So that's about all I got over here. And I know, again, Ashley will talk about our beef and forage field day coming up at Dean Lee in a couple of weeks.
Thank you, Brittany. We were meeting yesterday at the Dean Lee station and talking about book and ryegrass and cereal rye and all the things. So all of that's coming in pretty soon. And we're hoping, again, fingers crossed, because y'all know I don't like to jinx things, but hopefully it stays wet enough that we can plant on time this year. Unlike last year, I know quite a few of us push planting dates and then, of course, grazing dates subsequent to that back just a little bit. So hopefully we do get some of this rainfall and Angus to stay, and we don't see that repeat itself this year. Lee, we'll go ahead and turn it over to you for the Northwest region update and the markets, please.
Thank you, everyone. Glad to be with y'all today. I know we're recording this news update a little early and everything, but wow, what this weather has brought us since the last news update. Temperatures have definitely fared off in the Northwest region. We've had several days of low to almost no humidity. It's been wonderful. Highs, though they've remained in 90 or close to it, that humidity has really the absence of humidity has really made a difference. So we've been able to pick up some rain, as Tripp was stating and Brittany was talking about. We've been able to pick up some rain, and it was sorely needed. The amounts vary, and of course it's still ongoing, so not a total yet, but kind of towards the eastern side of my region of Northwest Louisiana, it's gotten closer to 1 inch or 2 inches of rain. Cumulative, it's been a nice slow rain. But now you get down up towards the Red River Valley and get down into Red River Parish and portions of Bossier Parish, and even over into DeSoto and down to Sabine. Some of those folks down there have gotten 6-7 inches of rain already. It's been quite a few storms that trailed through there. Don't think there's a lot of damage, but there's been a lot of rain that has fallen, and it's really advantageous for some of those folks. That's really been the driest portion of our region this whole growing season, has been the western side of Northwest Louisiana and everything. We're starting to see some sale barn receipts go up. People are starting to bring some more cattle to town. Two things that are driving that, of course, markets are number one. As far as these prices are just continue to be record breaking, new records. We're getting a little bit numb because the records are broken every week nationally, as far as what the calves and the feeder cattle market, the cash markets are doing. But also these with this weather breaking and the temperatures changing a little bit, made it a little more conducive on pin those cows and maybe do an early weaning, get those calves off, potentially sell them a little early. I know there's a lot of folks that ordinarily would be weaning on into late September or October or so that are getting those calves gone right now because the prices are just so high, folks. There's such a demand for cattle right now. And as we're getting ready to collect kind of news items and stuff for this market report, I got to thinking about it a little bit. And sometimes we don't talk a lot about what's happening nationally. I can't remember the last time I mentioned what the futures market was really doing, or gave a quote for the futures market. And when we started this news update all those years ago, actually, we started this with a focus on Louisiana. So the only time I really talk about anything nationally is whenever I feel like it'll impact Louisiana. We try to keep this thing focused because there's a lot of external forces that are pulling and pushing on this market right now. This screwworm debate continues to be central to a lot of conversations on this market nationally. That's a national concern, of course, a concern right across the border in Texas. And the amount of cattle available continues to be a concern. There's just not a lot of cattle out there, folks. We talked, I think, in a past news update about our cattle inventory, the lowest cattle inventory numbers in 50, 60, 70 years, something like that. But there's just the deficiency of cattle is being felt on the processing level, folks, and at the packer level. These packers, and I know what you're saying. Oh, don't cry a sad song for them. They made a lot of money back in 20 and 21 off of us, and they did. That's right. They made a considerable amount of money back then, but they've been operating on pretty slim margins for a while, and some would argue maybe in the red during certain times. Um, it's only a matter of time, folks, where we start seeing this processing capacity nationally start not collapsing, but contracting would be the right word for it. Maybe a couple of plants closing here and there. Don't have any rumors of that yet. I haven't heard any signs of it. Hadn't heard any word of anything like that happening. But just know, that markets come and markets go, folks, and don't get accustomed to these record high prices every week, folks. Y'all know what goes up must come down. With that being said, I've rambled quite a bit on that. I'll give you all what the markets did. I got a disclaimer: the data is not the highest quality of what we usually have, but I'll report what we've got. Okay, so this is for the period of August the 18th, and I projected out to 9/1 because we know there won't be any sales during this weekend leading up to Labor Day. So these are the average of the prices. These are self-reported prices. Nobody's grading these cattle as they come through the ring. 500 to 600 pound steers. Average of the prices paid are $3.24 per pound and $4.30 per pound. That's a 3.7% increase over a 2-week period. 500 to 600 pound heifers. Average prices paid was $3.06 per pound to $4.03 per pound. That's a 0.99% increase, so steady. Cull cows, $1.37 to $1.80, 0.31% increase. Cull bulls, $1.65 to $2.06 per pound, a 2.1% decrease. So those last three figures, the heifers and cull cows and the cull bulls, that's mostly steady for last two updates. Hold on to your socks, folks, for these average prices paid on high prices paid on these bred cows and the pairs. For bred cows, the average of the high prices paid is $3,650 per head. On pairs, $4,058.33. I believe it's the first time on these little news update market reports that we've crossed the 4,000 threshold on average price. That's average prices paid for pairs, folks. There's plenty of $4,900, $5,000 pairs being sold out in the state at these local auction markets, and quality can have such a big impact on that as far as we go with that. The other thing, and kind of as I start winding down just a little bit, market wise, that we kind of want to talk about is the fact that and we're seeing it more with the national data than we are the Louisiana data, but we're starting to almost see some parity between the price of steers and price of heifers. It's not there yet, folks. So steers still winning out as far as high prices go, and everything. But I'm telling y'all, we're starting to see heifers try to reach up and try to equalize themselves a little bit with what these steers are bringing. Is that a sign that maybe nationally folks are trying to grab some more heifers? I don't know. I don't know that there's enough data there. Last time I saw data on the number of heifers entering feedlots, it was still at a pretty high level. I've said on these news updates before that the thing to watch is the number of heifers entering feedlots and the number of heifers that are being retained, because that's a surefire sign that we're trying to grow our cattle herds. And is there examples there yet? I don't know. But I would say that these heifer prices easing up maybe start to show a little bit of a higher demand for heifers. Maybe people are wanting to try to keep them out in the country. That being said, we welcome the rain, we welcome cool temperatures, and going to enjoy the Labor Day holiday. But certainly a congratulations to Tripp and Miss Melanie and the rest of the family. And we're so happy and so proud of them and everything like that. And I'll turn it back over to you, Ashley.
Thank you, Lee. Okay, so I have a few things I want to, hopefully I don't miss anything on my list. So Brittany mentioned our agent training yesterday, and thank you to, as she said, to Randall and Dr. Strahan for putting that out there. Also, for any agents that listen to this, Dr. Strahan said he better not hear anybody complaining about how cold it gets during the winter after he was pretty warm over the summer doing stuff. He may or may not have threatened to fire someone if they said it was too cold. So I'm glad he's not my immediate supervisor. But it was a great event. I want to say a thank you to Mr. Terry Sklar for hosting us. It's always a pleasure to go out to his operation, but appreciate him letting us put plots out and then take up his morning, and also to his crew for fixing the flat on my truck that I had as we went out there yesterday. It's never boring when I'm around, I guess. As we approach weaning season for all of our our springborn calves, as we start to wean all those, just a reminder, folks, something that was brought up at the training yesterday. Take care of your calves pre-weaning, those vaccinations and everything. We can tell, buyers can tell if you've truly vaccinated those, if you've given them what you've said that you've given them. I know for most of you have heard me speak, and I brought this up yesterday too when this was mentioned originally. People that like to talk, and if you buy calves from someone and those calves get sick, you're likely to tell people that those calves got sick, and they might not have necessarily had the health protocol that whoever the seller was told you they had. So just a reminder that double rounds of vaccinations, those sorts of things, work with your vet on those. Castrate early, make sure they're healed from that, from dehorning. Look at anything that can bring you a premium or anything that can cost you some sort of price reduction or deduction on those calves before you send them to market. And I know we'll probably see a little bit of dip in prices as we move forward when all those cull cows and all those calves hit the market coming up this fall. It's just kind of typical for us to see that. Moving into our state fair hay quality contest. So that is done in conjunction with the State Fair of Louisiana Forage and Grasslands Council, and the LSU AgCenter. I don't know why Tripp is laughing. It's making me nervous. So if Melanie's in the background making fun of me, it's not okay. So the winners of those contests, I apologize if I mess up somebody's name. But the overall champion was Richard Dupuy out of Avoyles Parish. For the warm season perennial grasses, first went to Malcolm Eccles in Union, second to Dodson Ranch in Red River. In the grass legume category, Richard Dupuy from Avoyles was first. Simone Farms from Vermilion was second. In the winter annual grasses, first went to Dodson Ranch out of Red River Parish, second to Mitch Marsalis out of Claiborne Parish. And in the baleage category, first to Chase Eccles out of Union Parish, and second to Jamin Sellers out of Lafayette Parish. So congratulations to all of those. Their actual physical awards will be distributed at our Louisiana Forage and Grasslands Council annual forage conference in December in Alexandria. I've been mentioning that, and that event is listed in the video description as well. A few other things. I was asked today, and I'll send an email out to 4-H agents probably first part of next week, or this week when this gets released, excuse me. But state fair entries are open. So sometimes beginner families don't understand that validation is one thing and entries are separate. So for state fair entries into the livestock show, whatever you're going to actually enter and take to the livestock show, those are due October 1st. Any entries after October 1st are subjected to a late fee. And I don't have the date, but I think once you get to the show, there's no more entries being accepted. So go in, look on State Fair's website, look underneath those guidelines, and look at the handbook and everything there. If you have questions on that, reach out to your 4-H agent. But again, State Fair entries are open for the livestock show, and those are all due October 1st. A lot of you joined us this past Tuesday for Dr. Navarre's update on the New World Screwworm and the Asian Longhorned tick. That was recorded. I am going through that and doing the edits on the transcription. So that will be posted sometime this week when this news update goes out. I'll put it down on social media and I'll send it out to all the agents for them to forward as well. Then moving into our events, Tripp and Brittany both mentioned these. And we've been talking about them, so we're going to roll through them kind of quickly. But please, please, please RSVP for our field days, and just let us know so we have a head count, our general head count for the meals, because it's really tough to plan for some of these sometimes. Our Beef and Forage Field Day at the Dean Lee Research and Extension Center is Thursday, September 11th, starting at 2 p.m. I have a link for registration there. We're doing discussion on implants and an implant demonstration, castration, a castration demonstration, forages, as well as I think the Bermuda stemgrass maggot, Bermuda grass stem maggot. I'm getting all tongue tied now. I'm tired. It's Friday. And then some soil quality as well. So we'll have some demonstrations on that. And then Mr. Lafourche is our star guest, keynote speaker at the end, talking about these markets and what can help you bring increase your value on both your cattle and your calves. Camille Brady has a Lafourche, Assumption, and Terrebonne Livestock and Forage Field Day on Wednesday, September 17th. Down in Raceland, and I have that RSVP link here too. That'll be a morning event starting at 8:30. Tripp and Dr. Jose Neto have the Northeast Beef and Forage Field Day on September 18th. That's a Thursday, starting, I think, registrations at 8:15, and you can RSVP with the Union Parish Extension Office. That number is listed here. Will Strickland is hosting the first Poultry Field Day that we've had in a while, so I know quite a few of our beef cattle producers also have poultry commercial. This is commercial poultry farms. And so that will be September 30th at the Hill Farm Research Station from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. He has a ton of demos that he's got going on and quite a large vendor show. So any of our commercial poultry guys, there will not be any birds in our houses for biosecurity. So it's a good time to come out, hear all the different speakers. He's got some coming from out of state. Again, quite a few vendors and quite a few demonstrations to run at the houses. Wednesday, October 1st, will be a beef, dairy, and forage field day at the Southeast Research Station in Franklinton. I'll get you more on that as it comes. A bull breeding soundness exam day in Thibodaux. Camille is hosting that. That will be, why don't I see that? Oh, Tuesday, October 7th. Nope, that's not right.
October 3rd.
Thank you, October 3rd. I have the RSVP date, but I don't have the event date. That is going to be on October 3rd. Brittany, thank you. I'm going to add that right now. You need to RSVP by September 24th for that. And I have that listed here. Our cattle pregnancy determination clinics, again, there is a wait list. We have started registration for that. But if you want to be placed on that wait list, if you are interested, email us as soon as possible so that we can take care of that for you. Same thing with our AI school. I've mentioned it on here before. I've got more than 40 people on that list. We're having one in Alexandria in October. I've already started working my way down the wait list for that, but always email me or Lee and we'll put you on those wait lists. And then I mentioned earlier our Louisiana Forage Conference with the Louisiana Forage and Grasslands Council and the Grazing Lands Conservation Initiative. That will be on Friday, December 5th. So with all of the parish fairs coming up, state fair coming up, and all of these events, we hope that we'll see you at one or two or several of them. But always reach out to any of us if you have any questions on these. As you move forward and you start planting any of your winter annuals, you have questions on planting rates, fertilization, whatever that may be, reach out to us and see. I know it's still a learning curve for me on what we plant at Dean Lee in Alexandria versus the Hill Farm in Homer versus the Iberia Research Station in Jeanerette. So there's changes throughout the state. Just reach out to your local extension agent and they'll be able to point you in the best direction for all of those things. And with that, if we don't see you in person, then we'll see you back through a news update in just a couple of weeks.